When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Samsung big screen we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Time for that upgrade to an HD 3D web-enabled Samsung TV. Get the best selection, price, and service in town without waiting. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
Hi, I'm John Mallows. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Monday morning. It's on the air, off the presses. Today we'll be talking to Dennis Hart about all sorts of things. We'll be talking about the changes at ABC News, the changes at local radio right here in the city of Fresno. 436-MeTV option 11. Call in, turn down the sound. Back to the program. It is Monday right here on Connect with Me, 43.6. Of course, if you're watching us on Comcast, it is channel 187, and we are live here for the full 60 minutes, 10 to 11 o'clock in the morning. A lot going on to talk about on the air, off the presses with our usual guest today. He's back once again. His one-time appearance a month here on Connect with Me. He's been here many times before, and we have a lot to get to today. And your phone calls are important too. 436-MeTV option 11. Hey, I want to put this recent Gallup poll up on the screen. Page 1. This was June of this year. The confidence level of the American people across the board for various organizations. There's the U.S. military stands at the top. That means that 74% of the American people have confidence in the U.S. military. As we go on down the line, you can see medical system only 34%, the U.S. Supreme Court 30%, the President of the United States 29%. Look at public schools way down at 26%, the criminal justice system 23%. Hey, how about newspapers? 22% of the people across the United States have confidence in what they read in the newspaper. And how about this? News on the internet, 19%. If you're watching television news these days, only 18% of the people across the board in this country who were polled by Gallup in 2014 say, I have confidence in television news. 18%, and Congress is down at 7%. To talk about this and much more is Dennis Hart. He's live in our studio right now. He's been here before. He's waiting to take your call. Hey, today we're going to be talking about ABC News and some of the changes there, some of the changes at local radio as well, specifically at KMJ. We'll also talk about the coverage of the Malaysian plane that went down, the ground invasion by Israel into Gaza, and much more. 436-MeTV option 11 is the number again. Turn down the sound when you call in. We're back with the one and only Dennis Hart in a moment.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Whirlpool appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Touch the new Whirlpool Ice Collection. It offers a modern style made to create an inspiring kitchen experience. Save big on this Whirlpool Black Ice or White Ice kitchen. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
You know, I was looking at this poll over the weekend and just was laughing because, I mean, Congress is at the very bottom. We're going to talk about all this with Dennis Hart and your phone calls at 436-MeTV option 11. You know, it's good for a chuckle, Dennis. It's good for a chuckle, this Gallup poll.
Yeah.
Let's put that up on the screen one more time because I can't get enough of this. You know, I like to laugh. I'm in a good mood today.
We'll try to make you laugh all day.
We'll try to get through this without too many chuckles. But look at this, the confidence of the American people. I mean, as we go through the list here, we can change it, put on the second page, put on the third page. And you can see there, what are your comments or thoughts going through your head as you see this?
Well, it's not
ridiculous
surprising that the American people think that the military is doing a pretty good job. We've always supported our military in the history of the country. That is not surprising, 74%. I'm a little surprised it's not a bit higher, quite frankly.
Yeah.
The medical profession, we are in a period of time when almost everybody is disgruntled with their doctor or their medical care in some form or fashion. Republicans don't like what the president's trying to do. Democrats think we ought to do more. And the journalism part of it, the newspapers at 22%, television at 18%. This is also not a surprise to me. I'll tell you why. Because we are in an era now where people have decided they no longer want to get the news. They want to get confirmation of their biases. And so people are tuning, some people, not a lot, to Fox News so that they can get the bashing of Obama every day. Some people tune to MSNBC, fewer still than tune into Fox News, so that Obama can be defended. We're in a bubble, an information bubble. We're so polarized in this country, I think. People no longer look at a newspaper or the CBS Evening News or NBC or ABC and say, I just want a representation of what happened today. They want confirmation of their beliefs. NBC, ABC, and CBS aren't going to do that.
Yeah. Are they? But they're not watching because they don't have confidence in what they're hearing and watching.
They don't believe. No, they want comfort. They want comfort at night. When people tune into Fox News, and I'm not picking on Fox, I'm also going to pick on MSNBC. I come back to the point, they do not want news. They want their biases confirmed. They want Obama bashed on a daily basis. Sure it is. That's why people watch Fox News. They watch for Bill O'Reilly, for Hannity, for Megyn Kelly.
But this has to do with confidence in various organizations.
It has to do with viewership. You don't have confidence in something you don't watch. You're not watching because you want something that you're not getting from newspapers.
But confidence means believability.
Right, but they want belief in their biases. They don't want a comprehensive presentation of the daily news. Where do you get that? Where do you get the daily news? You know, you get it whether you agree with the editorial pages of these newspapers or not. You get it from the Wall Street Journal, a fair representation on their front page, the New York Times, the Washington Post, CBS, NBC, ABC. But for a lot of people who are talk radio listeners, for example, nobody listens to talk radio to get information. You listen to hear Obama bashed on conservative talk radio.
Yes, but you don't read the newspaper or watch television to hear commentary. You watch the news to find out information about what happened in the Gaza Strip, what happened with this Malaysian Flight 17 that went down.
You do, and I do, because we're in the business. We've done this business for 25, 30 years. We know this business, but a lot of people do not do that. People are not tuning into the evening newscast to get information anymore. They're tuning into their particular source, whether it's the internet, whether it's cable television, whether it's talk radio, whether it used to be Oprah Winfrey. Now it could be Michael and Kelly, as a matter of fact, live with Michael and Kelly.
Right,
Who knows?
But satisfying your own biases and having confidence in what you're seeing and believing what you're seeing and hearing are two different things.
Well, what would cause, let me turn it back to you now.
Would you agree with that? Would you agree with that?
A little bit, yeah, but let me turn it back to you. Now I'll be the questioner.
All right.
What has changed with NBC, ABC, and CBS over the last 20 years and newspapers that would lead to a decrease in confidence on the part of their viewers? They're the same newscast, the same organizations. The anchors have changed as they have gotten older. They've been replaced, etc. What's changed in their presentations, though?
What has changed? They've gotten away from hard news.
Why?
They've gone softer.
Why?
Because that's what they claim, that's what the public wants,
because
but they don't really know that.
The public does want that. The public does want that.
But that has nothing to do with confidence and believability,
Sure
though.
it does. Sure it does.
Okay. All right. A call coming in. Good morning. You're on with Dennis Hart. Go ahead.
You asked a question a while ago. Why don't the American people have confidence? Look at our president. Nobody has confidence in him, hardly. We go to a war, he calls it a police action. And you know for a fact that Vietnam was not a police action. That was a full-out war. And now we got ourselves in that damn thing with Afghanistan. That's not a police action. That's a war.
Okay, now you mentioned Vietnam, and you mentioned this president. Obviously, President Obama was not there in Vietnam. Are you talking about all presidents?
I'm talking about Obama. He put us in this particular. We didn't have to be there.
Didn't have to be where?
In Afghanistan.
I think most people would disagree with that. Afghanistan was the home of al-Qaeda, and that's where the Taliban was very strongly involved. I kind of think he had to be there. He may not have had to have gone into Iraq. That would be questionable because there were no weapons of mass destruction. But Afghanistan was pretty universally agreed upon that we needed to be there on that one and clean that up. Now, is it going to...
Anytime you send our troops in, we should say, hey, if it's that bad, we're not the police dog of the whole world. We should just take care of our own for a while and let them people take care of their own. If we're going to go into a country that, let's say it's a war, there's got to be something in the Congress that says, hey, if we go into war, our soldiers get a certain amount of protection, and if they go in under a police action, I think the protection is less.
Okay. Now, we were talking about confidence levels in the media, and I don't know whether you were trying to tie that in. Do you believe that the loss of confidence in the American government is tied in with the loss that we're seeing in confidence levels in television and newspapers?
I agree with your partner there. They got too damn soft. It should be a much harder look, and get all this other stuff out of there.
What other stuff would you like to get out of there? I mean, okay.
He hung up. That's okay. I think what he was referring
that was a tough question.
to. Well, I think what he's referring to is he wants to see more hard news. I mean, that's what I got out of that.
Yeah.
But you said, what are the networks getting away from? They're getting away from covering hard news. If you watch any newscast, including locally and nationally, even with the CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley, which you and I watch on a regular basis,
you bet.
That is, they put 10 minutes of hard news, maybe 5, and the rest is fluff.
Well, no, I don't think that's true. I think CBS is the hardest of the networks. Last night, for example, Sunday night, they devoted their first 6 minutes to the Gaza invasion, and then they devoted the next 10 minutes to the plane. Well, that's 16 minutes out of their 22-minute news hole. That's 70%, 65, 70%, et cetera. So, but surveys have shown, and you know there are news consultants out there who work with all of the television stations and the networks to determine what viewers want to see. More and more viewers do want to see softer, positive stories. I'm not saying it's right or
because
wrong.
They're feel-good stories.
Because they're feel-good
They want to go to bed
stories.
feeling good. They don't want to go to bed hearing that 60 people in Gaza were killed.
That's why people come home at night, drink their beer, many people, and watch network television to escape with the reality shows that are kind of these fun little things.
Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, thanks. I was talking about the last caller. I think that's part of the problem in this country. If you remember his call, he said that like Obama was the blame for going into Afghanistan, or Obama was the blame for going into Iraq, or he kind of emphasized that the police action in Vietnam was kind of his thing. I think that's the problem. I think the gentleman that you have as your guest is right. What people do, this man evidently didn't like Obama.
Right.
So what he listens to Fox News. Then there's a whole lot of other people that want to defend Obama, and they listen to MSNBC.
Yes.
And that's the problem. The information they're getting is not right. What they do, each one of these, they for on each side, don't get me wrong, on each side, they emphasize the negative and never the positive on either side. And these people are kind of, I don't want to use the word brainwashed, but they become so entrenched into what they want to believe. And I just want to ask your guest if there's any of that. I mean, that gentleman who talked, I mean, he was saying things that weren't right. I mean, Obama has been wanting to get out of the war. I mean, good or bad. A lot of people think maybe we shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah,
nevertheless,
you're absolutely right.
The information is wrong. So
you're
thank
absolutely
you.
right. It was George W. Bush who went into Afghanistan, not President Barack Obama.
And Iraq.
That's right. It wasn't Barack Obama who was in Vietnam, okay? That was Lyndon Johnson, John Kennedy, Dwight Eisenhower. But your broader point is very good. I don't think people are brainwashed by an outside force. I think they are self-brainwashing. We have now given people the options, with the rise of cable television and talk radio, to put an information bubble over the tops of their heads. No longer do we all get the same information from those major news sources that we used to get at NBC, ABC, CBS, the New York Times, etc. Now you can tune into Fox News and get, as I come back to saying, your biases confirmed. Now let's be clear on Fox News. The average day, any day, Fox News has about 1 million viewers. This is a country of 331 million people. The average day, MSNBC has about 500,000 viewers. That's nothing. But people who watch Fox News and MSNBC and CNN are very much partisans. They want to have their opinions confirmed. Their impact is far beyond their actual reach. Fox News has almost no viewers when it comes to the United States, and yet here we are talking about Fox News as if they're a major player.
And MSNBC. CNN's in the same boat.
Exactly right. And the major players remain NBC, ABC, and CBS for the evening news. We treat them as if they're dinosaurs going out, but they still have by far the biggest audiences.
Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes. No, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear the truth. It just be honest, hear the truth, and that's what's happening, give them the hard facts, what's going on in our country with him, and like that caller, I agree with him. Just be honest and hear the truth.
I'm sorry, the truth, who do you want to give the truth? You mean the news media you want to give the truth?
The news, like the news, just give the hard facts and give the truth on the news,
But the truth, now are you saying that MSNBC and Fox News give you the truth, or they do not give you the truth?
Well, they tell like it is, but a lot of people who listen to the news don't want to hear the truth from the news.
That's right.
Yeah.
You are correct. I agree with you on that. And now with the technology that we have, you no longer have to watch an evening newscast. You can go on the internet and type in almost anything and get confirmation of your biases. There's no regulation of the internet, as you know. There's no editor out there saying, wow, what's on the internet is correct.
All the biases that you want to by reading everything that's on the internet.
Yes, you can, because a lie is a lie.
Right, but still, that has nothing to do with the confidence and believability of some of these newscasts that are on the air nationally, whether it's on Fox, ABC, or locally here at Channel 30.
Right, but don't take that in isolation. Remember that graph you put up showed that there is very little confidence in almost every American institution except the military. What is that?
That's true.
We are a disaffected country right now.
Banks, the judicial system,
we don't
everything.
believe in anything right now. Okay, what is it we believe in? Congress has an approval rating of 7%. That's the lowest. And I've done my homework on this one since we knew we were talking about this. That's the lowest approval rating of any American institution in the history of Gallup polling. 7%, and yet people re-elect their congressperson even though they hate Congress. Why is that?
Yeah, and it used to be years ago, 25 years ago, if you had read the New York Times every single day for 10 years, it's equivalent to having a master's degree.
Right.
That's no longer the case now because people don't have confidence in the New York Times either.
But the
22% for newspapers,
but it's
Dennis.
so interesting.
We got to take a break.
Well, we'll come back and we'll talk about the New York Times.
All right. Back in just a moment here on Connect with Me, 436-MeTV, option 11. Back in a moment.
When you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Back here on Connect with Me, let's take another phone call for Dennis Hart. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, how are you, Dennis?
I'm very good. Thank you for calling today.
Turn your TV down, my friend.
To who are you speaking?
I'm talking to you. Caller, turn your TV down, please.
Yeah, I did. I turned it down.
Okay, thank you.
I still can't hardly hear you, though.
Yeah, go ahead. What's your question, quickly?
Yeah, this is, I have concerns about what's going on with the Social Security and how...
Yeah, you got it. Okay, I'm sorry. If you call in, here's the problem. You got to turn down your TV set or else we can't hear you. We had to cut that call off. But 436-MeTV, option 11. Do turn down the sound when you call in. Do not have that television up because we won't be able to hear you. And you certainly, obviously, by evidence of that call, you will not be able to hear us. So you can call back, but turn it down. And so, Dennis, you want to talk about the New York Times and the confidence level of that paper.
I think the New York Times has become the lightning rod for conservatives, obviously, not because of their coverage, but because of their editorial page. The New York Times has a liberal editorial page, but I don't hear the same complaints about the Wall Street Journal, which has a almost reactionary right-wing editorial page, yet the Wall Street Journal, I would argue, is one of the 2 or 3 best newspapers in the United States because their front page coverage is outstanding, as is the front page coverage of the Times. So what they're reacting to, well, the New York Times, because they had it on the front page, they must be biased. No, their editorial page is separate from the front page, as is the Wall Street Journal. I read both. I don't have a problem with the Wall Street Journal having a conservative page.
I know a lot of liberals, they bash Fox News for being so conservative and right-wing and almost to the point of being so far right that it's laughable. Yet Megyn Kelly, who now has a new time slot on Fox,
right after O'Reilly,
she put Vice President Cheney on the spot recently with going into Iraq by making him eat his own words that he said like several years ago, maybe 10 years ago. So she put a right-wing, a conservative on the spot.
Yeah,
so it's not always biased toward the right with Fox.
The difference between cable TV and the newspaper, the Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, have 1 or 2 pages every day devoted to their editorial feelings.
Right.
Fox News, more than half their time is opinion. Fox and Friends in the morning is nothing but a Republican bashing Democrat. O'Reilly, Hannity. Now, Megyn Kelly's a newcomer. She just got her show a few months ago. She is conservative, but she's not crazy. She's very smart. She's
not far to the right.
No, she is conservative. O'Reilly has populist views that are not always in tune with the Republican Party. Hannity's just a right-wing guy. Yeah. But the bottom line being, people are not reading necessarily the New York Times for their editorial page. They're reading for the coverage. But I think people who watch Fox News, can they even tell you who Fox News' breaking news anchor is? It happens to be Shepard Smith, who was on there when things broke last week. But how many people could identify Shepard Smith? But everybody knows O'Reilly and Hannity. More people are getting to know Megyn Kelly.
You're not going to hear editorials from Shepard Smith most of the time.
No, you're not. And he does a good job.
Straight news.
Shepard Smith does a great job and did a great job last week when that plane went down. I give him full credit on that.
Yeah. Caller, you're on the air. Hope you have your sound turned down.
Yeah, I fixed the problem. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm just a little concerned about what's going on with the disability for workers that have had injuries. Wonder what is our government planning to do about this, because I've been off for 3 years, and I had a neck surgery, and now I have a back surgery pending, and I see individuals around me that are getting disability that aren't even in the same situation I'm in.
Well, you know, that's an interesting question. I'm obviously not a medical expert. Social Security is a great program, as is Medicare, for a whole lot of people. There are probably some inequities out there, as there are in any private or public program. Nothing is perfect. And I can't speak to your particular case or why others that you know may be getting benefits that you're not. The only thing I can talk about with confidence is that Social Security is going to be here for you and going to be here for everybody in this room and everybody viewing. Since I was a kid, and that goes back more than a few years, I have always heard the scare stories about how Social Security is not going to be here. Social Security and Medicare are linchpins of our American society. Nobody's going to tamper with them, because tampering with them would be death politically to anybody who even thinks about getting rid of Social Security. Remember a few years ago when George W. Bush wanted to make some changes to ensure the long-term viability of Social Security.
Privatize it to a certain extent.
Which just bombed, blew up, etc., because as we can see, when you privatize Social Security, if you were ever to go that way, it would be equivalent to being in the stock market. And we know the stock market crashes, burns, harms people periodically. It's just the nature of our economy. It's just the nature of the way capitalism works. There are booms and there are busts. Social Security is going to be there. Medicare is going to be there.
The thing about Social Security is it's our money. We've already paid into it.
Yeah.
That's our money.
Yeah.
And so And the only problem that I have with it, we paid tax on it once, and then when you start drawing it at 65 or 62, whatever your choice
because it's
is,
income, yes.
Yeah, because
yes.
it's income, now you're taxed again, so
But-
it's like a double tax
But
on
remember
Social
that
Security.
you're going to get far more from Social Security, presuming that you live longer than 63 or 64, which we all hope to do. You're going to get far more out of it than you ever put into it. You just do. You make that up in just a few years. What you put in.
Depending on what your salary was, it depends on your salary.
Oh no!
If you're,
well, of course
if
it does. The more you put in, the more you're getting now. That's
yeah,
right. That's
obviously, if you're making 150 grand a year,
Right.
you're going to get more in retirement than someone who made 30 or 40.
Well, except that there's an upper limit. You don't pay on 150 or 200,000. There's an
Right.
upper limit that Social Security
I
is taken
understand.
out of your salary. But you make that up.
But
in
you'll be
just
in the
a few
upper
years.
tier. You'll
Yeah.
be in the upper tier.
Yeah, but you make more each month than you ever put in during the course of a month. But anyway, yeah. So
Yeah, New York Times. We got to take a break, but New York Times falls right into the same category with those other newspapers around the country. 22% confidence and believability about what they're reading in the newspaper, Dennis.
Right. But again, I think that's a result of the editorial page of the New York Times, not the coverage. Now, again, conservatives, though, are being led a lot by talk radio, and that's a whole other issue we can talk about in the next segment or whenever you want to talk about. Talk radio has been built on confirming people's biases. Nobody
Right.
tunes into Rush or Sean or left-wing talk radio hosts if
To
they're
hear
already
news.
to hear news.
Yeah, of course they
They're-
tune in to hear commentary.
You know exactly what you're going to hear on a daily basis. Every moment.
Right.
You can be away from Rush Limbaugh for 3 months, and the first 30 seconds you listen, he's bashing Obama. Obama's
the
this,
point of
Obama's
talk
this.
radio is to take news events and comment on them. That's talk radio.
Yes, it is not to provide you with news. But a lot
Right.
of people now believe everything Rush says. Let's put it, Rush is an ideologue. Hannity's an ideologue. They are there to harm the Obama
They
administration.
all
try-
are, whether
Yes.
you're a conservative
Yes.
or a liberal.
And conservatives, of course, predominate in talk radio because I
Right.
think their presentations are simpler. They're more effective. Liberals have a very difficult time doing radio. They truly do.
Okay, got to take another break here on Connect with Me. Remember to turn down the sound if you call in at 436-ME-TV, option 11.
Don't you ever hit me again!
Chief, I think we got a hit on our
Me TV Fresno, now on Comcast Channel 187.
Back here on the program, I want to roll a piece of videotape. It's the plane that went down, Malaysian Flight 17, of course, last week over the eastern part of Ukraine. Dennis, you've watched this.
Yeah.
Our intelligence here says that the pro-Russian militants shot this plane down with a ground-to-air missile unit that was provided to them by the Russians. How do you think, first of all, the media has covered this story with the plane going down?
I think they've covered it extremely well. And you and I were both watching that first day on Thursday when it broke. The networks broke in, as did CNN and MSNBC and Fox News, relatively quickly. I first started watching the coverage about 9:03 a.m., trying to watch Michael and Kelly on Channel 30. Here comes George Stephanopoulos. Now, I will say this. Fox News, I thought, of the cable outlets, Fox, MSNBC, and CNN. Fox News, with Shepard Smith anchoring, I thought handled it better than anybody else. They were on top
Shepard
of it.
Smith.
Yes.
Okay.
They were on top of it. They were breaking more information than CNN and MSNBC were. The networks were their typical, very solid selves. CBS particularly so. ABC with Stephanopoulos, and we're going to talk more about George a little bit later in this broadcast, but and NBC, etc. But Fox News, again, putting away their talk show kind of presentation during much of the day, they handled it extremely well. There was very little speculation. They were confirming more things earlier than CNN was. CNN has sort of lost its cachet here in the last few years. They used to thrive, as you know, on breaking news. That's when everybody would tune into CNN.
That's what
They've
they were
lost
known
that.
for.
They've lost that.
Yeah, they've lost that. They've lost
their
Larry
way.
King.
They've lost, well, that's not a big loss. They've lost their way, though. Their ratings have plunged. They don't seem to know what they want to be. Fox News, they were reacting to Fox's success in tapping an audience they could never tap, the conservative audience.
But you say Larry King's not a big. It was a big loss to CNN.
I'm
because there
talking
were a lot-
news-wise, yes.
Yeah, I know,
news-wise.
but I bet I can't name who has replaced Larry King right now.
I can't either. No, Larry
It
King
was Pierce Morgan.
Yes, but
he's out.
He's out. He's gone.
Who replaced him?
I have no clue.
Do you ever watch
it? Nobody watches anymore. No, Larry King performed a very valuable function for them from 6 to 7 o'clock.
And he was good
Pacific
at
time.
it.
Yeah,
He was good.
He was this guy who never read the books whose authors he had on. He never knew much about who the stars were or what they were doing. He'd always come on, this book, it looks pretty thick. What's in it? I mean, he was this avuncular guy. He was never questioned. He was never a hard-edged interviewer. He was this nice little guy out there.
Nobody got information out of people.
Who just sat there and said, tell me about what you're doing. What have you been doing lately, President Obama? What have you been doing, big name star? Brad Pitt, haven't seen in a while. What have you been doing? And he honestly didn't know.
No, but the conversation lasted for an hour, and he was brilliant at it.
Yeah.
He was brilliant. It was like a conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Like we're having now.
And he'd take some phone calls from people who also didn't know what was going on. And he was very non-threatening. That's why the stars would go on, because it was never,
everybody would go on.
Larry was never going to be the one like Mike Wallace. When you were interviewed by Mike Wallace on 60 Minutes, you had to prep and you had to sweat because you knew Wallace and his producers were there to nail you.
Just ask John Welty.
I mean, Wallace was always this guy who, when the person had lied on the air, he'd pull out the sheaf of documents showing he had lied.
Right.
And why did you just lie to me? Why did you do this? With Larry King, Larry didn't know if they were lying or not. Larry was just there having a good time. He was glad to see him. Okay, hey, wow, it's great to see you, Brad. You're really doing some things with that woman. Wow.
All right, and just about at the same time that the plane went down, of course, over eastern Ukraine, another story broke in the Middle East. That's where the ground invasion by Israel into Gaza took place. Let's roll that videotape. There it is there. Of course, yesterday, Dennis, the deadliest day in the 13-day conflict, this thing starting. And the networks covered both at the same time. The rating, the grade from Shepard Smith. Let's start with him.
I thought CNN did a very poor job in the early going of the Gaza invasion, and I thought Fox News stripped them. Now, here I am in the first half hour. I've been ripping Fox News. I'm going to give them full credit. They were able to, for whatever reason, they were ready when the Israelis went into the Gaza Strip on that Thursday. They had a reporter there dressed in his battle fatigues, and they were brilliant in their coverage. You could see you could see the darkness in Gaza,
as opposed
to the lights of Israel. Exactly right. He was talking about planes coming overhead. CNN was very late in getting there, even though they had Wolf Blitzer there. They didn't cut into this for at least 30 or 45 minutes behind Fox. Fox was splitting the screen, as you say, showing the plane in the Ukraine and showing and occasionally going to this reporter live in the Gaza. I thought Fox News did an outstanding job of covering both stories. A very difficult venue for both, obviously.
What about yesterday? Of course, you had 60 Palestinians die in those attacks. Civilians, innocent people. The deadliest day of the 13-day conflict.
Yes.
How'd the networks fare yesterday?
Well, again, I thought during the evening newscast, CBS was superior. I thought, as they generally are during the evening news. They devoted more time to it. They have people over there, et cetera, et cetera. This is one of those, we have a couple of things we can talk about here. This is, unfortunately, you and I could have talked about this 20 years ago, 30 years ago, the Israelis, the Palestinians. This is biblical. This is never going to be fixed. They just grow up.
It's an ongoing conflict.
They grow up hating each other's guts, and it's religious. There's nothing more deadly in terms of conflict than when you have people who hate each other over God, their version of it, etc. And so you've got the Palestinians who want to destroy Israel. Israel has this, they want to survive, etc. They're going in now. This is a tragic thing that they have to go in. But why did they go into Gaza? Well, because they were getting hit with rockets being fired from the Gaza Strip.
Right, and even our president has said Israel has a right to defend itself, which it does. And they're scared of a bleed over because we support Israel.
Yes.
We're a Christian nation.
Yes.
They're Israel.
Yes.
And so they see us supporting them. And now they have it in for us, too. So they're worried about the conflict spreading over into this country,
yes.
Which, of course, at 9/11, a lot of people think that's what happened.
Yeah. I mean, Israel has the capability of defending itself. They don't need our help to a great extent. They can handle themselves. The problem is that it's not just the Palestinians in the Gaza. It's a lot of other people in the Middle East, Iran, Iraq, etc., always threatening Israel. Now, Israel could probably go and bomb some of Iran's reactors, probably could do that, but you don't do that in isolation. If that happens, that opens up a whole Mid-Eastern cauldron. I mean, now you're talking major war.
The hate for America by Muslims is generated through that conflict.
It is. Now, not every Muslim, not every Islamic person hates the United States, obviously. Those are radicals. Those are crazies out there. There are crazies in every religion. We have crazy Christians who want to bomb abortion clinics and all of this and kill abortion doctors. So what we're talking about is a never, and it almost tires you out. I get the feeling of weariness because over 30 years, you and I have covered this so many times on so many newscasts.
Almost
it never
to the point of
changes.
being tired of hearing about it.
You are. Now, what's going to happen here? The Israelis have gone in and hundreds of people have died in Gaza. Dozens of Israelis have died, Israeli troops. There will be a ceasefire at some point because this cannot go on. There will be an uneasy peace. And I guarantee you, if you and I are doing this broadcast 3 or 4 years from now, we're going to talk about the latest Israeli incursion into Gaza because the Palestinians will have sent bombs or tried to send people through the tunnels to try to blow up Israelis.
Right.
There is no fixing this. No president can fix this. They've all tried and failed. It's not a matter of Obama can't fix it. Neither could George W. Bush,
Neither
Bill
could Clinton.
Reagan. Nobody can fix this because it's a religious war, a holy war, and no American can get involved in that and have any success. Just can't do it.
Back here with Dennis Hart in a moment. You're watching Connect with me on Comcast Channel 187, 43.6. Do call in, but turn down the sound.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer, and now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
You know, many of you watching this program right now, Connect with Me, were around back in 1983, of course, when that Korean airliner jet was shot down over, I guess they were flying over the airspace over Russia. Ronald Reagan was in office then. It was 007. That was the flight number. And Ronald Reagan, a couple of days after that plane was shot down by the Russian military, the President of the United States addressed the nation from the Oval Office, and this was Ronald Reagan's response to the Russians back then. Listen.
My fellow Americans, I'm coming before you tonight about the Korean airline massacre, the attack by the Soviet Union against 269 innocent men, women, and children aboard an unarmed Korean passenger plane. This crime against humanity must never be forgotten, here or throughout the world. Let me state as plainly as I can, there was absolutely no justification, either legal or moral, for what the Soviets did. Despite the savagery of their crime, the universal reaction against it, and the evidence of their complicity, the Soviets still refuse to tell the truth. They have persistently refused to admit that their pilot fired on the Korean aircraft. Indeed, they've not even told their own people that a plane was shot down. They deny the deed, but in their conflicting and misleading protestations, the Soviets reveal that, yes, shooting down a plane, even one with hundreds of innocent men, women, children, and babies, is a part of their normal procedure if that plane is in what they claim as their airspace. They owe the world an apology.
That was Ronald Reagan back in 1983. Now, last week, just a day or two, or actually the same day that the Malaysian Flight 17 was shot down over eastern Ukraine, President Obama addressed the nation. Now, I want you to listen to the difference in tone, the delivery, and the message sent to the pro-Russian separatists and Russia. The difference between Ronald Reagan and President Obama.
Everybody, please have a seat. Please have a seat. It is wonderful to be back in Delaware. Before I begin, obviously the world is watching reports of a downed passenger jet near the Russia-Ukraine border. And it looks like it may be a terrible tragedy. Right now we're working to determine whether there were American citizens on board. That is our first priority. And I've directed my national security team to stay in close contact with the Ukrainian government. The United States will offer any assistance we can to help determine what happened and why. And as a country, our thoughts and prayers are with all the families of the passengers wherever they call home. I want to thank Jeremy for that introduction. Give Jeremy a big round of applause. It is great to be in the state that gave us Joe Biden.
Dennis, I don't even know where to begin. I'm just shaking my head. I'm going, is that the President of the United States? I mean...
Well, let's talk about a little difference.
We got a call right off the
bat.
Let's take the call, and I'll talk to you.
All right.
Go ahead, caller. You're on the air. Caller.
Yes.
Hello, go ahead.
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
I listened to those two presidential reports that they gave on what had happened at their time.
Yeah.
But the difference is, a little bit, is that there was no doubt at all. It was only two countries involved. That was North Korea and Russia. There was nobody else. So it was very clear that the Russians had done it. In this case, there's three political entities that could have shot him down. The Russians, the East, the separatists, and the, I can't think.
Ukrainian government.
Ukrainian government might have done it. That's correct.
Yeah, and so any three of them could have done it. What was he supposed to say?
So who do you think did it?
I really don't understand that.
Caller, who do you think did it, caller?
Yes, go ahead.
Who do you think did it? Who do you think shot that plane down?
Well, really, I think everything is leading now that the Russians, that the separatists shot it down, with probably some Russian. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
caller, you make a very good point. That's exactly what I was about to say.
Before you,
Mr. Mellis, rudely interrupted me. Thank you for making that excellent point. Let's look over the differences here. First of all, when Reagan spoke.
What's that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When Reagan spoke, and I thought he was a very forceful president, when Reagan spoke, we knew exactly what had happened. We knew that the Russians had inadvertently shot down that plane because it had strayed into Russian airspace. To this moment, on this Monday morning at, what time is it, 10:40, we do not know who shot down that plane. We suspect we know who shot it down. So this president, last Thursday spoke only an hour or two after the plane went down. He knows nothing. What's he supposed to do? Get out there and blowtorch Putin when we have no idea whether Putin had anything to do with this? Now wait. You made your point. Let me make mine. What is he supposed to do? Do the talk radio thing? Let's nuke the Russians. They must have done this. We know nothing. Nobody knows anything. But let's just talk tough right now. Now, did that president look tough at that point? No. He was on the road, not in the White House. He's at a fundraiser. He's being asked by the media to speak about something he knows nothing about, nor do you at that point, nor do I. So I think to compare Reagan in the White House days after that happens with Obama hours or minutes after it happens is a false comparison. You can laugh at Obama for what he didn't know, but you didn't know it either, and none of your staff knew it. They were all laughing here too, but none of them knew what had happened at that point, and we still don't.
But Dennis, he's the president of the United States.
What's he supposed to do?
He travels with the security
What
team.
is he supposed to say?
He travels with people who are on the intelligence committee.
And none of them know. They know nothing when he's speaking.
But
they knew nothing.
They knew that three entities could have done it, and it leaned toward Russia.
So is he supposed to threaten all three? I'm going to threaten the Ukrainian government, whom we support.
You didn't hear Reagan threaten anybody. You didn't hear Reagan threaten anybody.
He was very forceful.
He wanted an apology.
Yeah, but who's Obama supposed to get the apology from last Thursday? Which of the entities? The Ukrainian government? The rebels? Putin? No,
he could have been more forceful in his tone, in his delivery, in his message. He didn't even sound like the President of the United States.
That's your opinion. A lot of people believe. Now, I'm not a big Obama fan, as you know, but I'm not going to sit here and let you blowtorch him like a right-wing talk show host.
But I'm not a right-wing talk show host. It's a casual observation when you.
He's a different person than Reagan. So is every other president. Okay,
right.
And Reagan's different from George. Well, that's like saying, what would George Washington have done? What would Thomas Jefferson have done? Well, they're all dead. It doesn't matter what they would have done. They're all gone. Now we have Obama.
You can't compare 1780 to
And you can't compare 1983 to 2014.
Why not?
Because different personalities, different technology. Same
theory.
We knew
same theory.
No, it's not. We knew exactly when Ronald Reagan spoke.
Russia's still being a bully in a lot of people's eyes.
When Ronald Reagan spoke, he knew what had happened. When Obama spoke last Thursday, 1 hour, He didn't know what happened. Neither did you, and neither did I, by the way. And we still don't know, by the way. We still don't know. Did Putin's people do this? Did Russians do this? Were they separatists who had been trained by Russia? Or, by the way, could it have been the Ukrainian government? I doubt that. But it could have been because they also have SA-11 surface-to-air missiles.
All right,
Who knows?
Good debate here on Connect with Me.
I love it.
Dennis Hart is here, as usual, once a month on Connect with Me, 436-ME-TV, option 11. Do call in if you've got a question, but please turn down the sound.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Frigidaire Gallery appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Time for that upgrade to an Energy Star qualified French door Frigidaire Gallery refrigerator. Quality appliances for the way you live. Get the best selection, price, and service in town without waiting. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise.
Outstanding show here today on Connect with Me. Good debate. Hey, by the way, Michael Reagan, the son of Ronald Reagan, was in town last Friday. He was in the Central Valley. I think he was in Madera speaking at a fundraiser. And he was asked the question, if his father, Ronald Reagan, were in the Oval Office today, what would his father, Ronald Reagan, have done about the Malaysian Flight 17 being shot down by, we don't know who yet?
Ronald Reagan would not have let that happen in that area of the world. There wouldn't be a Malaysian plane shot down today. If my dad were president, if George Bush were president, if H.W. Bush were president, if Mitt Romney were president, if you were president of the United States, what we are seeing unfold in the news today would not be happening. There wouldn't be a Malaysian plane shot down today. You wouldn't have Israel having to send ground forces into the Gaza because he supported Israel. He didn't give it lip service, he actually supported Israel. And the next time somebody starts laughing about Star Wars, ask the Israelis, how's that working out for you as you take down those missiles coming in from Hamas? They're not doing a job. You know, somebody said to me, he said, well, can he fix it? No, because his thought process is that it's America's fault.
By the way, that interview, courtesy of our friends over at KMPH, Fox 26, and Eric Rosales. You and I worked at KMPH.
Yeah, we did indeed. We did indeed. You know, that's useless what Michael Reagan just said.
Why?
Well, first of all, Ronald Reagan would be 110 years old if he were president today, so I doubt that he would really...
You know what he meant.
It's useless to say something like that because he's not president. That's like saying if George... No, seriously, if George Washington were president today, if Franklin Roosevelt were president today,
a break.
If Lyndon Johnson were president today, we don't know what would have happened. Okay, so that's garbage.
All right. Another call coming in. Good morning, you're on the air. Caller? Hey, caller, are you there?
Hello.
Anyone home? I guess not.
Going once, going twice.
Gone.
Well, interesting call.
Now, you know the changes at ABC News. Well, some of you may know the changes at ABC World News tonight with Diane Sawyer. She is out. David Muir is in. And by the way, our friend George Stephanopoulos has new assigned duties. The question is, can he handle anchoring Good Morning America? And at the same time, when breaking news happens, he is your special correspondent right there in the studio, delivering it to you the way he did last week when that Flight 17 went down. And also earlier this year, when they celebrated the one-year anniversary of the Boston bombing. It was George Stephanopoulos in the hot seat, in the anchor chair. He's got new assigned duties at ABC. George Stephanopoulos, take a look at him.
This is an ABC News special report. The Boston Marathon bombings, 1 year later. Now reporting, George Stephanopoulos.
And good afternoon. We're coming on the air right now because 1 year ago at this very hour, 2 bombs exploded 12 seconds apart at the Boston Marathon, killing 3 and wounding more than 250 others. 16 lost their limbs. And in just a few moments at 2:49 Eastern Time, the city of Boston is going to pause for a moment of silence to remember those victims.
George Stephanopoulos, of course, new assigned duties at ABC News. We'll talk about that in a moment. Let's take a quick call. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, I agree with your host on that issue of the bombing.
Yeah.
When you assume certain things are not the facts, you make an ASS out of yourself. You ever thought about that?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the call. A little bit
a little bit
there.
Discombobulated there. Go ahead and repeat that question. What's the question?
Yes, I agree with your host on the issue of that airplane being shot down.
Correct.
You know, when you assume certain things without the facts, you make yourself an ASS. You know what that means?
Yeah. Okay.
All right,
well, thank you for agreeing with me on that. My only point is that at that moment when the president spoke, none of us knew exactly what had happened. He spoke only an hour after that plane went down. To compare that with Ronald Reagan's speech, which I thought was very good in 1983, is apples and oranges, because Reagan knew exactly what had happened, as did the world. So it's one thing to demand an apology from the Russians when you know they've shot it down, and another to speak out of your rear when you know nothing, which I understand talk radio does all the time. Understand the difference, though, between talk radio and the President of the United States, whoever it is. Whoever the president is actually has the responsibility to govern. Talk radio has no responsibility. They can be completely irresponsible and say whatever they want.
And let me reiterate what I said. I'm not saying he should go on and blame anybody at that point when he doesn't know, but his tone, his delivery, and his message were completely different. To me, he didn't sound like the President of the United States.
So the Stephanopoulos thing that you're talking about here.
Stephanopoulos, you assigned duties at ABC. Can he handle it?
That is a very big change from the pattern that broadcast journalism has had since its beginning in the 1940s in this country, as you know. Traditionally, the anchor of the evening newscast on ABC, NBC, and CBS have handled major event coverage, whether it's breaking news, whether it's convention coverage. Now, ABC, because Diane Sawyer is leaving. She is leaving the evening newscast in September. They have decided that George Stephanopoulos is going to be their major event coverage guy, even though he's not the evening news anchor.
When you
he's
say
the Good Morning
major
America
event coverage guy, meaning if a breaking news story happens like this Flight 17
Flight
going
17,
down, he's
9/11.
the guy in the anchor chair.
Yes, the conventions. He will anchor that, but he's not the evening news anchor. They're giving that to David Muir.
Why is that a big deal? Why is that a big deal?
Because you associate the evening news with your most important news coverage. Now ABC is saying our evening news is secondary to Good Morning America because Stephanopoulos anchors Good Morning America and he's going to anchor major event coverage. That is a paradigm shift. It is a risk for ABC. It's fascinating to see them doing this.
I think it'll work, but go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
I have just a question. Why is it that one is speaking about the transponders on the plane? Because there is a distinct difference between military and civilian aircraft transponders, and all aircraft worldwide carry them. Were they not able to identify it being a civilian aircraft because of the transponder? Thank you.
I don't know.
Well, you know, if you're talking about separatists, if the separatists fired this surface-to-air missile, they were firing at an image in the sky. They did not know. This was a mistake. I do not believe whoever did this, let's be clear, we still don't know who did this. We believe it's the separatists.
Yeah, but we don't know.
We don't know. They were not trying to knock down a civilian airliner. They were trying to knock down what they believed to be a cargo plane carrying military forces because they'd done that earlier. They had done it in weeks earlier.
CBS News verified that through phone conversations that they were able to obtain during their newscast.
The separatists put up a tweet or the equivalent of a Russian Facebook post boasting that they had knocked down a plane. When they found out, when all of us found out it was a passenger jet, they took it off.
Right.
They
found out.
They thought they had knocked down a military asset for the Ukrainian government. They were, I think, probably as horrified as the rest of us to find out it was a passenger plane.
Right.
And it took a while for them to find out. Now, if they didn't know, I come back to the point, if they did not know what they'd knocked down, how was the President of the United States supposed to know an hour later?
Another call. Good morning. You're on Connect with me. Quickly, short on time. Caller, quick.
Yes, I believe that we've become a culture of chaos and rather than informative action. And I agree with your caller. Your host, and that yes, different presidents could maybe do things differently, but we have Obama, and this is what we need to deal with. And I do believe he's the voice of calm in artificial chaos.
Okay. Thank you, caller, very much. And I think
much.
to amplify on that point, I think a lot of Americans right now want to have instantaneous reaction, i.e. cable TV or talk radio. That's not what a president has to do or should be doing.
Okay, got to move on because we're running out of time. As mentioned here just a couple of moments ago, David Muir has replaced Diane Sawyer as the main anchor Monday through Friday of ABC News World News Tonight. And here is David Muir showing us a tour of ABC News. Just get a taste for what he's doing and what he is about to do at ABC in this video clip.
So we are at the corner of West 66th Street and Columbus Avenue here on New York's Upper West Side, appropriately named Peter Jennings Way. And to give you an idea, we have 4 buildings here on the block, pretty much take up this whole block. This is WABC, our flagship New York station, their brand new studio that overlooks the street. Hey, as we get off the subway in the morning, look who greets us. Diane peering over her shoulder. It's sort of how we start the day and how we end the day, too. So this is the DMC, the Digital Media Center, and you can see this is where we take in all the feeds here at World News and for the other broadcasts. And we don't actually call it the DMC, we still call this slant, this whole operation, because back in the videotape days, they'd put the tape inside the edit machine, and the heads used to read the tape at a slant. In taking in these feeds, current day, we take in 10 to 20 terabytes of material and feeds into ABC News every day. So this is Correspondents Row here at ABC. It's actually right over the World News set. A lot of the correspondents have their offices, and you can actually see the broadcast as it's playing out at night, a reminder of where you got to be in 2 minutes time if you have to. And this is, well, this is my cube. It's palatial, as you can see. Check it out. I have the view of the building, the Upper West Side apartment buildings right next door. It's the World News team right here, led by Diane Sawyer and Michael Korn, executive producer. So what do you got? What's the lead today?
Don't hold our eyes too long and do not feed the animals.
Do not feed the animals. Right now they're going over some of the stories that are in the lineup, deciding which ones are going to survive. It's only 2:30 in the afternoon, so as you know, a lot of moving parts. It's sort of the halftime report of the day. So when they hold their meeting, I thought I would show you that Diane's cube here is a little larger than mine. Come on in. This is her office here at ABC News, and glance around and you can see that, well, she's won an award or two in her time.
Why is this a big deal that David Muir is replacing Diane
Well, first
Sawyer?
of all, I do believe David Muir is probably unqualified to anchor World News tonight. He's a guy who, he's 40 years old. His background is Syracuse and Boston local television. That's hardly a qualification to take over World News from Diane Sawyer. He's a pretty boy, and ABC, I think, recognizes this, because think about what they're doing. They are not making him the face of their major events coverage. They're making Stephanopoulos the face. That's the first time in broadcast history in this country that the evening news anchor is not going to be the person who breaks into coverage when something happens. ABC fully realizes they've turned their evening newscast into a national version of Eyewitness News, if you will, or
yeah, but
Action News.
Stephanopoulos now is doing Good Morning America. He's doing This Week, and he's also the special events guy.
And that's the problem, because when you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to anchor Good Morning America, let's say a breaking news story occurs 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 6 o'clock. He's going to have to be up 20 hours covering something. He's going to be tired.
Hey, Dennis, I got news for you. That's what they're paying him the big bucks for.
Well, yeah, but even though they're paying him big bucks, and by the way, I think George is a very good guy, I'm not sure his body can stand up to that.
Okay. KMJ, total chaos there. As you may recall, last week, Skip Essick, the program director, longtime program director, fired. Shown the door. Somebody from corporate came in, cut him a check, and said, see ya, let's just take you outside into the parking lot, and you are out of here. Your reaction as to what's going on at KMJ, not to mention their ratings taking a huge dip, and we might even see a lawsuit coming out of Skip Essick.
Well, KMJ, this was not a surprise. Skip is a very good guy, and Skip and I worked together for a number of years at KMJ.
Qualified.
I thought he was, yes. He's about early 60s, has been around the country, was program director at WJR in Detroit, very qualified guy.
Yeah.
Cumulus came in and bought them a while back. He did not, apparently, make the changes quite as quickly as they wanted him to make certain changes. Whether he did not believe those changes should be made or, it's difficult to make change. So they came in, as you say, and you were rather graphic in your description, they came in a week and a half ago and they showed him the door. And they've hired somebody who was the assistant program director there and their news director.
Blake Taylor.
Yeah. Who is a much younger person. And I'm sure Blake is empowered to make whatever changes Cumulus wants.
Right.
It is a shock to the system at KMJ right now because Skip was universally liked and respected. Okay. Now you're bringing in a younger man who has not necessarily gained the trust of the staff. No younger man could at this point. He has to be in the office for a period of time. And KMJ's ratings have been on the decline, as you know, since they lost Limbaugh and Hannity. So it's going to be quite a challenge for Blake Taylor right now at KMJ.
Skip Essick is a good guy. I had a chance to talk to him. I'm trying to get him on this program. I know you know him. He's a good guy, just like you, Dennis.
You bet. Thank you.
Can you believe we're out of time? We could do 2 hours here.
Aren't we doing 2? I thought it was a 3-hour show today.
Dennis, I'll see you next month.
We'll be here.
Thank you very much. Thanks to Dennis Hart, and thank you for calling in on Connect with Me. We're back tomorrow again with another edition 2 guests on tap for Tuesday. Back tomorrow. Have a good day.